CNBC TV 18, celebrating 15 years of leadership.
The top story tonight, Infosys starts the new year with a bang as Sikka springs a surprise. Profits rise 5%, beating expectations. Dollar revenue growth also in line. The stock surges after the company reaffirms its growth revenue guidance of 7 to 9%. Bulls maintain the momentum on the Lal Street. Late rally lifts the Sensex nearly 200 points in a volatile session. The Nifty nears the 8,300 mark, but mid-caps underperform.
Well, you'll have major announcements in the budget and you'll have it in the next 364 days also.
The finance minister gives a sneak peek into the upcoming budget, says he has every intention of maintaining the 4.1% fiscal deficit target, hints that major divestment will take place by the end of this fiscal, defends the government's ordinance spree and slams the UPA's Land Acquisition Act. Crude oil prices slide yet again as it stays on course for a 7th straight week of losses. Equities across Europe and United States stutter as wage growth falters despite a fall in unemployment in the world's largest economy. France remains on the edge 2 days after the Charlie Hebdo shooting. 2 people are dead and many taken hostage. Gunmen attack a grocery store in East Paris. This as police surround a warehouse where the Charlie Hebdo attackers take a woman hostage. A bittersweet day for Sunil Mittal. The Supreme Court quashes 2G's court order summoning the Airtel chief and SR's Ravi Ruia in the excess spectrum case. But Bharti Airtel and Vodafone suffer a setback as the apex court refuses to stay auction of spectrum in 6 circles. Some relief for Roy and Sahara. The Supreme Court gives conditional approval to the group's fundraising plan. Roy will also get conferencing facilities at the Tihar jail till the 20th of next month. A watershed moment for Sri Lanka. Maithripala Sirisena emerges as the giant slayer in the presidential elections as voters deliver a shock defeat to 2-time President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Honoring the creme de la creme of India Inc. CNBC TV 18 style, the glittering 10th edition of the India Business Leader Awards currently underway to honor the best in business. Good evening and thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Surabhi Upadhyay. The guest of honor at the awards night has been Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, and yes, he spoke about the upcoming budget, and all that will be, of course, our starting point on the show tonight. Expect major announcements, not just in the budget, but throughout the year. That's the message delivered by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to captains of India Inc. and the India Business Leaders Award. In a freewheeling chat, Jaitley defended the government's ordinance spree. He said it was not an extra parliamentary process and made it clear that the country cannot pay for political tussles. He also slammed the UPA's Land Acquisition Act, terming it as a big impediment to growth. He also expressed confidence about the divestment drive, saying major sell-offs will take place by the end of this financial year. He also said that the government has every intention to maintain the 4.1% fiscal deficit target. On interest rates, the FM said he hopes for a better tomorrow and reiterated once again that it is interconnected with growth revival. Here are the highlights from Arun Jaitley's interaction with Shireen Bhan and India Inc.
As far as your disinvestment figures are concerned, you have close to 3 more months left. And I can only indicate to you that this is going to be a period of great activity as far as disinvestment is concerned. Major disinvestment in the coming months, that's prior to 31st of March, is going to take place. Why support a provision in the Land Acquisition Act which says no acquired land will be used for a university or a hospital? Now, how do you expect us to set up smart cities where there is, besides a government hospital, there is no private hospital, there is no private university, no educational institution? Now, you have provisions in this Act which are, for instance, take a provision. Any land which is not built on for 5 years will be returned back.
Yeah.
So I have said in my blog that you want India to be a country of incomplete projects. Can a city be fully developed in 5 years? Can a power project, an irrigation project, a national highway, a railway line be developed and completed within 5 years? Even a business center doesn't get completed within 5 years. First of all, an ordinance is not an extra parliamentary process. An ordinance has to go to Parliament. It has to be approved by both houses of Parliament, either individually or eventually collectively. Now, I am willing to discuss each of these ordinances. The coal ordinance has already been approved by the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha was not allowed to function, so the coal ordinance was required. The insurance ordinance has gone through a standing committee of Parliament. After the standing committee, the Rajya Sabha decided to have a select committee. Now, many people, purely on a question of political theory, an indirect house questioning what the two houses have collectively cleared through a standing committee, and what a directly elected house has cleared, to say that we wish to review it. Now, you can do it in a rare case, but it's not a very healthy precedent on a question of political theory and for the system. A budget is a very important occasion, but it's an incorrect impression that many of us have, that the budget is the only opportunity for making announcements.
Sure.
Speaking for myself, I have already said, the budget should indicate the direction of policy. You can make some major announcements, but then if India has to grow, then almost every week or every fortnight, some important decisions, and all decisions in one particular direction, not in a contrarian direction, must go on. And if you look back the last 7.5 months, this is precisely what we have done.
You said that budgets are occasions where one can make major announcements. Let me push my luck one more time, sir. Are we likely to see major announcements? Don't tell us what, but are we likely to see Budget 2015 present some major announcements?
Well, you'll have major announcements in the budget, and you'll have it in the next 364 days also.
Well, expect major announcements not just in the budget but throughout the year. That's the message delivered by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to captains of India Inc. at the India Business Leader Awards. Of course, that was that freewheeling conversation in which we saw the Finance Minister defend what the government has been doing on ordinances and, of course, talking about the reforms which are to come up ahead as well. Well, quickly moving on to some other stories that we are tracking this evening. Let's bring you the latest on just a quick reminder before we move on to the markets. You can catch the rest of the highlights from the CNBC TV 18 10th India Business Leader Awards in half an hour from now. So more coming up. But on to the day's trading action now. The bulls have kept the bears at bay for the second straight day. Major indices ended a volatile day of trade on a strong note. The Sensex gained over 183 points thanks to the rally in the last hour of trade. The Nifty managed to close in on the 8,300 mark after adding nearly 50 points. Today it was all about the blue chips as mid-caps underperformed in trade. Moving on to the next big story, IT bellwether Infosys has kicked off earnings season with a bang. In keeping with estimates, dollar revenue grew 0.8%. That's about 2.6% growth in constant currency terms. The rupee revenues recorded a growth of around 3.5%. But a strong expansion in margins helped the net profit move up by 5%, much higher than what was widely anticipated. What was the expectation was just about a 1.9% growth number for the bottom line. Purnima Murli and Kritika Saxena break down the performance.
We are very happy with the outcome. We are extremely satisfied. 2.6% constant currency growth, and especially the 4.2% volume growth that we saw is the best of any quarter in the last 3 years.
That's the Sikka magic at play. Margins, volumes and utilizations have jumped under his watchful eye. And the resultant better than expected net profit numbers have spread some late Christmas cheer in the markets, where the stock put a volatile start behind it to end a smart 5% higher. What really had the market stoked was that support by an appreciating rupee, effective cost optimization and prudent debt provisioning. Operating margins expanded a healthy 60 basis points.
The rupee depreciated about 2.5% during the quarter, which would give us a benefit of about 60 to 70 basis points, and that is what you see flowing through the margin straight away. A lot of other operational improvements that you've seen in the quarter, utilization improvement, on-site mix coming down, higher volume growth, have been flowed back into the business to a large extent.
Margin expansion was not the only good news though. The quarterly performance has received support from a 4.2% jump in volumes on the back of broad-based growth across sectors and geographies. Utilization has also helped, coming in at 82.3%, a high not seen in 11 quarters. However, attrition remains a sore point for the company. It says it has started taking more aggressive steps to arrest attrition, including a 100% variable bonus payout, and hopes these measures will help it control rampant attrition in about 2 quarters.
We believe that many of the efforts we have taken have started yielding dividends, and it will probably take a few more quarters for it to come back to where we believe it should be.
But the real surprise comes on the guidance front. Now, the street was expecting Infosys to bring down its FY15 revenue growth guidance from 7 to 9% to between 6 and 8%. But this has not happened. Infosys says it still sees revenue growth coming in at 7 to 9%, keeping in mind the fluctuations seen in the dollar-rupee rate over September. The company has also brushed aside calculations that predict a 1 to 1.5 percentage point reduction in guidance given exchange rate volatility between September and December.
We don't want to get into this business of speculating on currencies and so forth. So what we have done is we are sticking to our plan, we are sticking to our guidance that we gave in the end of September, that the 7 to 9% that we mentioned as of the 30th of September, this is what we are holding ourselves to.
Clearly, Sikka is sticking with his turnaround strategy that already seems to be showing results. Also, while Sikka remains non-committal on how Infosys plans to use its impressive cash pile going forward, he is not interested in slowing down on the company's practice of helping startups find their feet. He has increased the allotment to the startup fund from $100 million to $500 million.
More and more innovation will come from startup companies.
The organic growth strategy may not be dead, and the third quarter may show the company seeing some success in getting back to the growth path. But the Infosys management is still cautious about the outlook for the coming year. It has told analysts that client budgets for calendar year 2015 are looking tight, and that some clients have already begun scaling down on spending. This, it warns, may force Infosys to give them discounts for projects, which could hurt its numbers going forward. But that's a story for another day. And for now, the street seems content, just basking in the IT giant's decidedly pleasant third quarter surprise. With Purnima Murli in Bangalore, in Mumbai, Kritika Saxena.
Well, moving on to the big international story now, the French police are battling 2 hostage situations. First, in a town northeast of Paris, where at least 1 hostage has been taken and gunfire exchanges. Police are conducting a manhunt for the Charlie Hebdo shooters. And a second at a separate shootout at a supermarket in eastern Paris, where there are reports of casualties and several hostages being taken. Here is a report filed by CNBC's Hadley Gamble just a while back.
This is the third day of a massive manhunt in France, a dramatic series of events unfolding as we speak. In the village just behind me, 2 suspects holed up in a printing business. They are completely surrounded by French law enforcement authorities. There is at least 1 confirmed hostage in that building. There may be more. At least 5 people were expected to be at work today at that printing business. We understand from French authorities that the hostages are their first priority. They say they're not going to move in unless negotiations with these 2 suspects totally break down. The AP, of course, earlier reporting these guys are ready to go the way of martyrs. I have to tell you also, they're in a separate incident today. There's been another shooting and hostage incident in the eastern part of Paris at a kosher grocery store. We understand the mayor of Paris tweeting she's on her way to that scene right now. That makes the 3rd such incident in the last 3 days. 3 days of manhunt and 3 days of terrorist incidents. And of course, we also understand now that the French police have released the photos of the 2 people suspected of shooting a policewoman yesterday in a terror attack in Montrouge. That's an area in the southern part of Paris. They've released those photographs. Police saying that these 2 are also armed and dangerous and on the loose.
And staying with international news, it's a watershed moment in Sri Lankan politics. The island nation's two-time president, Mahinda Rajapaksa, has suffered a shock defeat in elections. His one-time ally, Maithripala Sirisena, has ousted him to become the new president. Rajapaksa has conceded defeat after he polled just over 47% of the votes. His rival, Sirisena, won over 51% of the votes. This is a bitter pill to swallow for Rajapaksa, who had called for snap elections 2 years ahead of schedule, targeting a record third term. Just a few months back, Sirisena was the health minister in Rajapaksa's government before he defected and started a campaign against him. Prime Minister Modi has congratulated Sirisena and reaffirmed India's support to its neighbour.
CNBC TV 18, celebrating 15 years of leadership.